Hi there, welcome to I Lone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy. And we're starting out with some cards from the Kipper deck. And then we're going to get out some tarot to see what the rest of the story is or expound on it so that we can understand it. And then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because everyone in their Libra energy can be at different emotional maturity levels. You know, we lived our life when we were 15, 18, 21, and we had a way of viewing life and treating people and things we were really motivated and inspired by that we thought were just and fair, you know? And some people kind of put away some of their more immature ways, childish ways, egotistical, self-centered ways, bossy or controlling ways, or whatever. And, you know, life's about learning lessons about treating other people the way you like to be treated. And some people have learned more of those lessons than some other people. And then, you know, the other idea is that, you know, if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, that it should be based on love for each other, not more the ego or the image or how it benefits just you or the status or, you know, more out of fear or codependency or insecurity. I mean, you can do that. It's just that if we keep putting in work and effort to kind of grow and mature ourselves, just like at those different stages of life that we went through, we would want to be in more mature, balanced relationships. And Libra is represented by the scales of justice. And again, at any stage of our life, of our kind of way we view life and our emotional maturity and kind of what drives and motivates us, you know, and everybody has different kind of ambition levels. Some people are much more driven and motivated and they're high vibe people, but other people are like, yeah, I don't want to do all that. That's just not my thing. That they can all be high vibe. And, you know, shadowy energy would be more someone's living more from their mind than their heart. They're being more immature, but trying to present themselves as more stable and grounded and balanced than they are. In shadowy energy of pride and ego and self-centeredness, immaturity, and of course they could think that's just and fair, and they just need to find some other people who think that's just and fair, who are kind of on that same page of life maybe. So let's go see what's going on in Libra energy. We have a card not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the distant horizon. So, you know, it's kind of like we all have our dreams, and at the end of the story, we have the Queen of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, also represented by the Star card, which can also talk about our dreams. And is it more, I want it to be more about me? That can be shadowy Aquarius, shadowy energy. Is it more about looking like a shining star in the world or being the center of attention or being really victorious and successful? Is that the driving factor, main driving factor? Or is it harnessing high vibe Aquarius energy where you look at life from a higher perspective? It's not just about me. It's not just all about these things in the world, that there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And in high vibe, it's being a good leader in the world and acting with character and integrity, and you are who you say you are, and hopefully motivated by truth and love. But anyway, everybody's going to have their idea of the dream life. So let's go see what this card is. The false person. Some people are inspired to grow and heal and mature themselves. They don't want their more immature, egoic, fearful, codependent, lust, greed nature, addictive nature, whatever, to run their life. And they do that in high vibe Aquarius energy by staying focused on the big picture, continuing to have hope and faith and belief in themselves, connecting in. This is a feminine figure, so that can represent anyone, but in how they think and they feel, they're looking at life from a higher perspective, keeping things in perspective, not getting all up in their head. Both Libra and Aquarius are air sign energy where you can get up in your head, and any of us in our own Libra and Aquarius energy can get all up in our head, you know? And the way other people overcome that is by looking at the bigger picture, keeping things in perspective, looking at things in the bigger picture, and having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams. And other people maybe don't know how to do that yet, haven't thought of that yet. But they might try to present themselves as that type of person to get other people to hire them for a job, be their friend, date them, marry them. But they could be hiding. They're actually operating more from their ego nature, or their, you're either being authentic and truthful, and you are who you say you are. That's kind of the Leo strength card here. Or you're operating from your ego and you're just tempering your shadowy nature so that people don't see it, and hope that if you can get someone to hire you or get in a relationship with you or whatever, that hopefully if they find out later, that by then they'll kind of in their ego have an issue about getting out of it for their own reasons, right? So next we have the Seven of Swords, which is also Aquarius energy. And the reason that came out is because of the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands in Aries energy can also talk about that we have a dream. And we want to, we have this vision for ourselves of how we want to live our life. And we have this dream. Well, in high vibe Aquarius and Libra, they're listening to their intuition. And they're maintaining balance within themselves. The 5, the 6, and the 7 are Aquarius energy. In the typical 7 of Swords card, it's like holding the 5 of Swords. I have a dream. And then it's the 2 swords. Am I going to listen to my intuition? Or am I going to be more manipulated by my fear or my ego or whatever it is that manipulates me? High vibe people connect in with their emotions and their intuition to not get caught up in their head. And when they do get caught up in their head, in their fire sign energy within themselves, both the Two of Wands in Aries and the Strength card in Leo are fire sign energy, they temper themselves. They temper their more beastly nature. Their fears and their insecurities are, I want what I want now. It's like, we all might want what we want now, and we could try to go about it in a more, the Seven of Swords can be like deceptive, manipulative. Aries is about the self. I could do some things more out of my own self-interest. But, hopefully, some people have kind of learned some of these lessons in life. If I take action not listening to my intuition, how many times did I go do something when kind of like my intuition was telling me, you shouldn't do that. This is not a good idea. You should go home. This is not going to work out the way you want. But pride comes before the fall. And sometimes we think, oh no, I'm sure this will work out the way I want. And the 5 in the 7, we have this dream we want to bring into reality. And in the 5s can talk about change. Like, I think I can change other people. Oh, I can see that person might be deceptive or manipulative or emotionally cold or detached or prideful or egotistical or not telling the truth. I think I can change them. And we've probably all done that several times. And Leo energy also represented by the sun. And then we also have the one Ace of Pentacles. And the pentacle can be about truth and love. High vibe people have repeated some patterns enough in their life. They've learned these lessons. If I don't act with character and integrity and take action more aligned with loving and believing in myself, and you could look at the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords are counterparts, and the Queen of Swords can represent our emotional nature. The King of Swords can talk about how we present ourselves in the world and action that we're taking in our life. We have to stand up. The King of Swords can represent in our more worldly vessel nature of self, that we love ourselves. That's high vibe Leo. We temper our fears and our insecurities. We love ourselves. We encourage ourselves. We give ourselves the things that we wish other people would give us that maybe aren't. To keep believing in our dreams, and then in our own, because I view the King of Swords as Libra energy, we stand up for ourselves, our emotional nature, our loving nature, our dreams that we have, to work together with other people. But if people show us that I don't think they're being authentic. I don't think they're being truthful. I think they have a little mental conflict about maybe being more just and fair. And Aries energy is about the self. So sometimes people, are a little bit more about themselves. And they might want to be in friendships or relationships or marriages, but they kind of think it should be a little bit more about them, that they should kind of be indulged in some way, kind of in their ego nature of shadowy Leo. That for some reason, whether they think they're some shining star or they're attractive or charming or just full of themselves, for some reason, male or female, there's some people in the world that just kind of think it should be a little bit more about them. And they should be a little bit more indulged in the relationship because they kind of indulge themselves. They might not want to see the truth of it, might be a little full of themselves, but the Seven of Swords can be, they don't want to see the truth of that either. No, no, I'm this just and fair and loving and nurturing person. Yeah, you can be, but why? Is it more out of your own self-interest and how it benefits you, but it's not really love? It looks like love, quacks like love, but not really truth and love. And, some people can live their whole life, shadowy energy, which in shadow, the Seven Swords can talk about people want to stay in denial of the truth. And people could live their life that way all their life. Some people, in the next group of cards, we have the Page of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, and then a card not showing itself, which is the Four of Cups. If we temper ourselves, we have this dualistic nature. We have free will. We can pick this or we can pick that. We can do this, we can do that. We have to make these decisions in our life. Some people emotionally are more emotionally invested in indulging themselves, and that's their truth. Some of them, they never get balanced within themselves. It's always to defer to maybe living more from their mind than their heart. Maybe being, I also view the King of Swords as a person's self-protective defensive nature. So again, whether people are male or female, they could have decided that somewhere in their life, made this decision, I'm going to invest in my self-protective defensive nature, which can also be our ego. We kind of hide behind our ego. I might kind of invest in my emotions, but kind of use my emotions maybe more manipulatively to get what I want. But I'm more aligned with living more from my mind than my heart, my self-protected defensive nature. And it might be, they haven't learned to love themselves, is what the Four of Cups can talk about. They haven't taken that cup of higher love to have more hope and faith and belief in themselves. And other people did do the work to temper their ego, some people learn these, what's that poem, Everything I Needed to Learn, I learned in kindergarten. But some people never kind of got out of being more about themselves and egocentric. And again, some people could think they got it going on in the world for some reason. And because of that, they could think loving people should want to be in a relationship with me. And that can be people who align with their more worldly nature. And maybe those people, their dream was to kind of look like a shining star in the world, so that hoping loving people would want to be in a relationship with them. And that could be how they view relationships. And that's kind of a shadowy relationship where it's kind of more transactional. Well, this is my truth, and this is more what I like and what I'm invested in. And then I want to live in from this vantage point. But I think because people want these things of the world and they want to be in relationships with people who might look like a shining star, are attractive or charming or something, sure, we can all be tempted by those kind of things in the world. But then what they offer people is just more of these things of the world. They don't offer love. And people can get in a relationship with them. And some of those people, we all have our way of viewing life. And some of the loving people And even if they're attractive and charming, victorious and successful in life, they're just more motivated and inspired by love. You know, we all can put in work to have stability and security and be attractive and charming and all that stuff. But the high vibe people are more motivated and inspired by love. And that's sometimes when we get in these more mismatched relationships, we don't realize kind of how we harness our Cancer energy. Cancer energy is about love of self and love of others. But some people, it's kind of all a little bit more about them or their love of the world and the things of the world and the status and the ego and the image. And of course, that's how they think. So, of course, they think other people think like that. They've decided that's just and fair. That makes sense. But then there's other people in the world who harness their Cancer energy differently, and they are more motivated and inspired by love. They can put in work and effort to be victorious and successful and stable and abundant or in lots of different ways in their life. But they're more tilted in favor of being more aligned with, you know, trying to grow up and mature their more immature, shadowy nature to have more hope and faith and belief in love. They have taken that cup of higher love to love themselves and believe in themselves and want to be less manipulated by their worldly nature. And we can get, and some people are in some mismatched relationships, and sometimes it's just people in our life, friends, family. And with some of those people, we see the truth and we know the truth, and they know we're kind of motivated by more by love. We might be a little more tempered, a little more balanced, a little more self-disciplined. And, us in relationship to some of the people we in life think are a little more immature or full of themselves or deceptive or manipulative or whatever, those people in turn can know people in their life that they also feel are a little more prideful or immature or manipulative. And we can all have people that we can be friends with, but we don't want to get in a more involved relationship with them either. But for the people who right now kind of haven't learned some of those lessons or meet someone new, kind of maybe is what the pages can be, that we're trying to get to know other people and trying to figure out what their truth is. Are they more about themselves? Are they more immature? Are they more self indulgent? More about indulging themselves in relationships? Have they learned some of the same lessons that I've learned? Do we like some of the same things? Do we not? And people could just, even with some of the people in life, that's just the stage that we're at. And nobody's making an offer to make it more than that. And it's kind of like, people are friends and they're just getting to know each other. And then we have the other people in our life that we could have wished those people peace, but yeah, no. I'm moving on. I have been illuminated to the truth of who you are. I do think you're deceptive. I do think you're more full of yourself. I do think you're more immature. I think you are more caught up in the things of the world, and I don't think love is your truth. And with some of those people, we've seen the truth. We've tempered our ego about it. We might have been hoping over time that, they could have been hoping we'd give up our dreams and make our life more like theirs. We could have been hoping they'd work through whatever it is that makes them kind of view life and live life the way they do. And we hoped, that they'd change and we'd get on the same page. And then eventually, and some people are going through that right now where it's like, I'm getting out of my ego about it. I accept the truth. you know, you were we have different dreams, we have different ways of viewing life, we have different things that drive and motivate us, and basically seeing my dream can't come into reality with someone maybe in a more romantic type relationship. Friends, you can get along with people and enjoy people's company and be friends with them, all sorts of people. But if I have a dream I want to bring into reality, and if that's romantic, I have to see the truth and quit staying in denial of the truth of people could be in relationship with, and learn the lessons that I was meant to learn from other relationships I've been in. Because that's the whole thing. We come in contact with all these people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And the people that are seeing the truth now, and the people who already did, they could have felt like they were missing an opportunity in love in their Four of Cups, Three of Cups Cancer energy. They wanted someone who wanted to work together with them, working together with them from love, being motivated and inspired to invest in love. And again, some people are like, I might want to stay in the relationship, I might want to stay in the friendship, I might want to stay at this job, but I got some issues with tempering my ego, or not being harsh and critical, or emotionally detached, or being more just and fair. And some people decide, I can't keep doing this. If this isn't your truth, I wish you peace. You should go live your life the way you want. But I have come to realize this is not my truth. This is not my idea of the dream life. And some of the people who are more, they want to live their life the way they want to live it. They want people, if they're kind of shadowy in some way, they want people to indulge them in that way. And some of those people realized, well, they might know that they would like to go invest in certain things and indulge in certain things. They might not, they could just think it's that person. But, they might go on a journey of finding out, maybe from other people as things keep happening kind of over and over, if they're ever willing to see the truth, that, if you have some shadowy, immature, prideful, manipulative, deceptive, egotistical ways of being, it might be kind of hard to get someone to stay in a relationship with you. But next, we have the Ten of Wands in reverse, and the reason is because of the Star card. So a lot of Aquarius energy in here. Let's see, what's the opposite sign also of Aquarius? Oh, Leo. We can go on these journeys of life, and the opposite sign of Libra is Aries. Again, some people could be tipped out of balance, and we kind of go on these journeys in life. And Libras could either be tipped more in their fire sign energy, wanting to go indulge in these things of the world that they want to go indulge in. And, they're going to kind of go to the edge and then realize, oh shit, oh, that was too far. And then, it can be kind of learning, oh, I need to temper myself, and we've all been on those journeys in all these different ways to kind of like, oh my gosh, but I love them. And, in tarot, we have the four suits of the deck, the heart, the mind, the 3D world, and our creative passion nature. And we kind of go on this journey like, oh no, I'm sure this is it. This is my truth. And they go do that. And then maybe they think some aspects of themselves aren't worth investing in that much or less important. And it's not making more balanced decisions, taking their heart, their mind, their 3D world, and their creative, passionate nature, that they're all equally important. But at different stages of our life, we can get more caught up, and sometimes we're just caught up in ourselves and all these things we want to go indulge in. And, some people can stay that way all their life. Other people were kind of inspired to grow and heal and mature themselves. So the high vibe people, the Ten of Wands, can be that other people did learn these lessons and they closed out a phase of life. They saw the truth. If I keep repeating, and we'll all repeat certain patterns, because we'll repeat a pattern over and over and over until we kind of learn the lesson we were meant to learn. And some people go through phases of life. They kind of learn things at that phase of life. And then, they kind of do look at life from a higher perspective. I didn't plan to live like a 21-year-old all my life. I had greater dreams for myself. So then they kind of listen to their intuition, to face their fears, that it's time for me to quit investing in that way of living life because that's not moving my life forward. And I need to offer love to myself, to believe in myself, quit investing emotionally in some of those things that at one time I enjoyed and thought was just and fair. But unless I want to keep living my life that way forever, I need to close out that chapter and stay focused again in high vibe Aquarius on the bigger picture. The other people could, again, everybody's different, and some people could have a dream of continuing to grow and mature themselves. And other people, it's like, well, what's that mean? Well, then I wouldn't be able to invest in being more about me, or I'd have to temper my ego, or maybe I'd even have to invest more in myself emotionally to kind of grow and mature that aspect of me. And that kind of makes me think of Scorpio energy, which is kind of exploring its water sign energy, and it's about kind of exploring the mysteries of life. And we as human beings, we're very complex, and we can have a lot of conflicting emotions, and some people could have just decided, I don't want to deal with that. The Ten of Wands in Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. So we have the 3 fire signs out here. And some people in their fire sign nature, I'm not inspired to, some people, they're living their life in a way that looks good by worldly standards. I don't even understand what is the higher purpose, and their philosophy of life, kind of in their truth, is we live on the planet, the world says to do these things, or this is living the dream life, and that's all there is to it. So they could have a very, very motivated and inspired in their fire sign nature to, again, be more inspired by making their life about themselves or these things of the world as the driving factor in their life. And other people I think there's more to it than that. Can we all put work and effort into having some of those things in the world? But I think there's just a higher truth and purpose to being here. And part of it could be to try to, in the next grouping, we have the Hierophant and the 6 of Wands. And the reason is because of the Ace of Wands. And that is to kind of be less just about ourself and our own image and status and self-indulgence. But high vibe Hierophant in Taurus energy is to really kind of be a spiritual leader in the world, even in the sense of just walking the talk and acting with character and integrity, not being deceptive and manipulative, not being more about yourself, and not just more about the ego and the image of it, to really grow and mature yourself, to conduct yourself that you are who you say you are. And anybody in the world can try to present themselves as harnessing high vibe Libra energy, or high vibe Aquarius, or high vibe Leo, high vibe Aries, high vibe Hierophant. Look at me, I'm such a pillar of society, and I'm this just and fair person, and I seem like a shining star, and but some of those people, they do all these things, which could be things, if there weren't the world around to try to conform to, and it was just, do you want to go do this activity or whatever? Is there other people? Would anybody even know? No, then I'm not going to do it. It wouldn't be something but it's more about doing it so they have this certain status and image. I want to look like I'm this type of person. I want people to view me this certain way. And so then they can do all these things in the world so they have this certain status and image, so people view them a certain way, because that can just be really important to them. Where other people do things that they really are motivated and inspired by. They're in high vibe energy, truth and love, justice, fairness, treating other people the way they want to be treated. But it's not about trying to deceive people about the truth of who they are. If I'm going to go do something or participate in something, I'm going to do it because I want to go do it and I enjoy it. And sometimes when people are in a more mismatched relationship, Shadowy energy, represented by the devil of the big picture, can be being jealous and envious, right? So if someone gets in a mismatched relationship and they could have put a lot of work and effort to have a lot of status or image and attend all these certain things and participate in all these things, and then they get in a relationship with someone who that maybe really wasn't what drove and motivated them, or things that they maybe participated in that much. But as time went by, as those people maybe were healing and growing and maturing themselves, maybe put aside some of their more immature ways, childish ways, they could have, because the person maybe that they were in a relationship with, investing in some of those things too, but they really could have become inspired by those things and really kind of enjoyed it. And, it kind of became, it was aligned with their truth. And then the other people can be mad because, you might, you really authentically, Leo, authentically, you're really doing it because you really enjoy it. And you're not putting on an illusion. And when other people are doing things and being more authentic, and it really does kind of motivate and inspire them, the people who are doing it and kind of feeling full of themselves in a way because look what I do and blah, 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 it can make them kind of get defensive to those people because it does kind of illuminate the difference where they kind of could have felt I am this certain type of person because I do these certain type of things and kind of feeling quite proud of themselves. Like they're this certain type of person. And then the other person is just doing it because they want to do it and they enjoy it. And it isn't for this ulterior purpose of trying to deceive and manipulate people, create this illusion about the type of person they are. And it kind of illuminates that difference. And then that can bother them. And then, shadowy energy can be too where, you're competitive and prideful. So then they could not maybe want to move forward with those people because maybe they feel like those people kind of outshine them in a way. And some of them, maybe they're more fearful that you really have seemed to grow and heal and mature yourself. And they could be, you're continuing to move forward, closing out old cycles, ready to move forward in new cycles, put old things behind you and ways of viewing life or living life. And some of those people were just creating an illusion at the level they were at. How do they fake another level? That maybe they haven't even known anyone who is more authentic, is more tempered, isn't more creating an illusion or being deceptive and manipulative and just doing things more for these certain reasons and really seems to enjoy it. They might not even have been exposed to people like that. And we all kind of like to stay in our comfort zone. And in a way, to some degree, we all could have experienced that in our life. We all could have been when we were younger. New people who's like, oh, wow, they seem to be more self-disciplined, more motivated and inspired within themselves, maybe more confident. Kind of like, apparently you put in a lot more work into working through some of these issues in life than I have. And I kind of don't think we're on the same page. It's just that the other people probably didn't go into the jealousy and envy about it. And it's just like, one day I want to be like that. And I want to feel more bold and brave and confident and more balanced within myself and feel more abundant within myself. But me and my friends, we're going to, we're going to do it at our pace because we're not there yet. So there might be people that you meet, but you're kind of like, yeah, I don't really think we're on the same page. I think you're way ahead on the game of life than I am, right? So we all could kind of experienced it at different stages in our life, but some people maybe didn't experience it till later in their life. where they kind of come across some people who seem like, wow. And again, they could think, I don't want to keep moving forward in this. And maybe in a relationship, people could be afraid that you look at life differently. This more worldly people could be less inspired to look at life from a higher perspective because their idea of the dream life in a more shadowy Taurus and Six of Wands, which is Leo energy, again, just more inspired by this more worldly way of living life that I'm more about maybe conforming to the world and looking like a star in the world and putting in work and effort for that. But, you kind of look at life differently, and that kind of isn't my truth. And then everybody wants to be in relationships with people who are more on the same page as them. And so, for a while in some of those more mismatched relationships, everybody could kind of be a little defensive. The people who are more about these things of the world were thinking you should be happy, kind of like give up being inspired by your dreams and, this life with them or at that job is, looks very victorious and successful by worldly standards. You should be happy. And it's like, you know, I went on this journey in life and I thought those things would make me happy. And to a degree, in a lot of ways, they do. But, maybe didn't even realize, that there's more to my journey that I want to go on. And there's more things that I want to explore. And I think high vibe people would probably offer love to the people in their life to come with them. But the other people could feel like, that isn't my truth. That's not what I'm driven and motivated by. I'm kind of more happy living my life this way. Some people can part on good terms. Some people don't. Everybody can kind of feel betrayed. But if how you view life and what you love and what you want to kind of invest your energy into, and some people are very happy. You should stay in this job or this relationship because it looks victorious and successful. What more do you want? That's like living the dream life. It's like, it is, but if I don't feel like it's really, if it's driven more for that reason to be in it, and it's not really love as the inspired nature behind it, well, the people who are more driven by those things of the world, if it's not love, well, then they kind of want to be in relationships with people who are more driven and motivated and inspired by what they're motivated by. And again, if someone comes along who has more status, more image, or they like to be more indulged, or they like to be more immature, or they like to be more bossy or controlling or something, they're going to go look for someone else who maybe they don't have to more walk the talk or maintain balance within themselves because they could like a more imbalanced relationship or more about the world or more about them, and then they're not happy in it either. And some people could, again, sometimes we have to learn these lessons. Everybody could have had the best of intentions, some people. Now, the people who've already learned, though, oh, I thought I'd be willing to do love, but I find that overwhelming and I could be defensive. I get hurt doing love. No, I want to be in relationships, maybe want to be in marriages, but I'm kind of more about enjoying it, being in it, hope maybe the other person enjoys it, but I'm not really going to do love. I'm defensive to love. And if they can find someone else who seems to be motivated and inspired by those things, some of those people might be moving forward in a more committed relationship. Because neither of them are inspired to want to do love or are happy, being in a relationship where they get along, but they might not want to even admit to themselves it's more for being in a relationship or the status or the image or whatever. And if that's their truth, that's their truth. It's just that other people, kind of like I had been in it, I didn't like it, or I didn't like that workplace. I thought they were kind of immature or bossy or controlling or manipulative. They weren't who they said they were. I don't think they're very just or fair or loving and encouraging. And I want to work with people who are, you know? What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming? Death, King of Pentacles, Nine of Swords, Two of Wands, Knight of Swords, Queen of Wands. And the reason is because of the King of Pentacles. So some people could have went through a stage of life where they were trying to get more balance. Again, air sign energies are offset by fire sign energy. And it's about getting balance between those two. And we all are, you know, probably for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, pretty fired up about these things of the world that we want to manifest. That's our idea of the dream life. And some people, like everybody else, kind of went and invested in those things. But there can come a time then where they kind of learn the lesson they were meant to learn from that phase of life and maybe did get more balanced between their air sign energy and their fire sign energy. And they learn the lesson. And now they're kind of looking for other people who've learned that same lesson. And also the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles can be that people could have gotten more grounded or balanced within themselves. The earth signs are offset by the water signs in tarot, so it could have been this whole process of just trying to get balanced. You know, I have these things from my mind that I want, I have these things that emotionally I want, I have these things that I'm fired up about and attracted to, and I also have my worldly nature. And some people just learned a lesson they needed to learn from a phase of life. And again, if they did find that they were in a more mismatched job or relationship, is what the Pentacles can talk about too, or a relationship or a marriage, because the King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married through the deck. They've changed. The Scorpio death card talks about death and transformation. And in our more worldly nature of Scorpio, again, there's all these things that we want to manifest. And we could be kind of more caught up in these things of the world. And again, we have that lesson to learn, and we maybe didn't realize how much those things kind of influenced us and manipulated us. And maybe in some of those jobs, friendships, or relationships we were in, you know, we kind of wondered in the Nine of Swords if our dream was going to come into reality there. And again, either because we didn't want to see the truth of some things when we got involved in some things, or, you know, we were kind of more manipulated by our worldly nature and these things we wanted to kind of manifest. And that's making that decision. I don't think this job is right for me anymore. I don't think this friendship is right for me. I don't think these things I could invest my time, energy, and effort into are right for me anymore. And could we be really stressed, is what the Nine of Swords can talk about closing out that cycle? Yeah, because, you know, some people will be mad. Some people will be defensive to us. You know, that's not my truth. That's not my dream. And they want to keep doing this. And the thing is, when we've kind of learned the lesson we were meant to learn at a stage of life, it's kind of like there's no life-giving energy in there anymore. It's like just doing the same thing over and over, not giving birth to anything new. And if the other people are happy living their life that way and they don't ever want to give birth to anything new, and that might be their dream life. And they never dreamed of doing life any differently, but the other people kind of did. It's like I thought this was going to be a phase of life. Then I thought we were going to kind of face our fears and keep believing in ourselves, because Aries is about the self, and the Two of Wands about our dreams. And if the other people are like, nope, because that would require them to maybe have a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams, and have a little more hope and faith in others, or a little more hope and faith and belief in love. And they could be defensive to the Queen of Wands. I kind of view it as listening to your intuition or being more bold and brave and confident. And they kind of want to keep doing what they've been doing. And other people, you could have been doing that for quite a long time, but, over and over, from like the 1 wand to the 9 of wands. And, if we add the 9 plus the 1 wand, we get the 10 of wands, or the 10 of swords, and we close out a cycle. I've kind of worked through all my mental conflict about it. And I'm willing to stand up again for the Queen of Pentacles. I view as Taurus energy. I have my kind of philosophy of life and what motivates and inspires me in my dreams. You have your philosophy of life and what drives and motivates you. And I think our truth is different and our dreams are different. And I've had people are willing to see the truth and they're not willing to stay in job, friendships, and relationships. High vibe energy is being more independent, able to live your more authentic truth, invest in your unique talent, skills, and interests, kind of your dreams. And sometimes you can be in relationships with people, again, it's like, well, you were supposed to give up your dreams and make it more about my dream. And people could have done that willingly, for a phase. But then I kind of thought that phase would maybe end. It's kind of like, just like when we have children, do we go through a phase of life where we're very, focused on raising our children? Yes. But then when that cycle ends and they're kind of off living their own life, putting work and effort to manifest their own dreams and getting in their own relationships, it's like, well, I wasn't just going to sit here and like wait for people to come home. I have other aspects to myself that I would maybe like to invest in. And sometimes even children won't like it. No, you should stay right here. No, I'm going to go do this and you should stay right here. You don't change. You don't do anything different. You're supposed to not give birth to anything new. You're not supposed to have any other dream that in case I want to come back in some shape or form, I just want things to stay the way they were. It's like, but I don't stay stagnant and dead. I am a human being who changes and grows over time. And, at different times, I focus my time and attention into certain things. And then vice versa, it can be parents who kind of get mad. They encourage their children to love and believe in themselves. And then when those people go off to live their own life, then the parents are mad. Or it's like, we should be the primary people in your life. I got married. Well, I still want to be able to be the primary person in your life. And I'm mad that maybe that you love someone else, you love and believe in yourself. It's like, it doesn't mean that people in our life, friends or family, aren't important in our life. But at these different stages of life, things have more importance as a foundation in our life. But if we're going to get in a relationship or a marriage, that should become the primary foundation in our life. We should be looking to the future and offering love to that new beginning. And that can be a problem also that some people have. Their primary foundation in their life is either themselves or other people in their life, like a friend group or family, but they aren't truthful about it. Those people they can't marry. So they want to be in relationships with people, but they're defensive. And that kind of makes me think of Libra too. Libra is represented by the 2 of Swords, which can kind of be like divided loyalty, where, they move forward with people, creating the illusion those people will be the new primary foundation in their life.
that they are more independent of their friend group to stand in their truth, defend this, which is just and fair if you're going to get in a relationship or a marriage with people. And some people are like really overwhelmed at loving and believing in themselves and being more independent. So they kind of keep going back and forth and have this divided loyalty. And eventually people that they're in relationship can see, you don't seem to be able to decide if your friend group is, again, friends can have a place in our life and our original family, and if we were in other relationships and children, they all have their place in their life. But if you're trying to build a life with someone else, this new beginning, you have to detach. That is in its priority. But this should be the primary priority, and that's also what some people have a problem with because they could be more codependent. Okay, so I think the high vibe people are moving forward. They have emotionally detached. They're having a new beginning. They're investing either on their primary relationship or primary relationships with the people who do work together with them in a more high vibe way. High vibe Gemini can be about our dualistic nature and staying focused on their truth and being more inspired to listen to their intuition. And if they were kind of tempted, we've all got to do that when we're living our life. We can all be tempted to be immature or self-indulgent or whatever. But if we're in just and fair and loving relationships, why would we do that? And then when people do it, it's for us to see the truth. In a way, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because you're ready to move forward in life differently. Those people aren't. They showed the truth that they weren't. So get out of your ego about it. Love yourself. Believe in yourself. Face your fears. And go find people who are more on the same page as you. And I think as you do that, I think there will be other people who have went on that same journey, who've been moving forward too, looking for other people who are more on the same page as them. When you quit investing your time, energy, and effort into the people who've shown you that's not their truth, it frees you up to walk your talk, live your truth, and then it opens up the opportunity to have these new beginnings, you know? And you could get, if you're not married, you could get married. If it was a job, you could get in a better job. You listen to your intuition to get out of what didn't seem aligned with your truth, that didn't seem just and fair, that seemed more immature or manipulative. And as you keep taking action, not indulging your more immature ways, other people in the world who aren't doing that see that you're not doing it, and you're the kind of person they want to be in friendship and relationship with. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Cups and the Justice card. Why? Because of the King of Cups. Well, they could always be surprised and maybe confused that the people who, I view the King of Cups as Cancer energy, kind of like in these cards here, and the Seven of Cups as Scorpio. The people who are kind of more motivated by love and kind of see through the Seven of Cups can kind of be caught up in the illusion of the world, kind of see through the illusion of the world, offer other people, truth and love, and they're just and fair and balanced. And as those people offer love to their own confusion, the one cup plus the Seven of Cups makes the Eight of Cups. And that can be kind of walking away from the illusion. No longer so caught up in all these other things and people in their life. And they might kind of realize shadowy Scorpio again can be where it just seems more superficial and shallow. It's more all about these things, or status and ego and image or self-indulgence. And they want a more balanced life. The Justice card is Libra energy. Do I want some of those things in the world just like everyone else? Yeah. But I also am inspired by truth and love. I want a balance between my heart, maybe, and my mind, not defensive to love. And some of the people that we can get in relationship with create an illusion they're loving. They think that's just and fair, but that's different than being in a relationship with someone who's motivated and inspired by love and wants to do love and enjoys love and likes to give of themselves. Not people who just create the illusion they're that type of person and they think that should be good enough. That's a big difference. Someone who's defensive to love but tries to present themselves as loving versus someone who's worked through past pain, heartbreak, betrayal, because the Queen of Swords can represent that we feel that way, and chose love. Probably because they offered love to all those things. To not keep letting those things manipulate them and overwhelm them. I accept the truth that everyone in my life is where they were at. I've been where I've been at different stages in my life. We all have the free will to grow and heal and mature ourselves and put away our more immature ways of being and start being inspired to take action in a way that will make us more proud of ourselves and to look to truth and love, to be willing to change, to be willing to grow up and mature ourselves, look at life from a higher perspective, and keep moving forward in love. And they could always be surprised because they maybe just don't get it. I don't even know how they work through that. But the thing is, again, some people who are defensive in their Scorpio nature to even kind of work through their own emotions, to get to know themselves emotionally. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I think the way I think? Get more balance within themselves. But again, that can take work and effort. And some people are like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So they keep doing what they do. Other people work through their emotional confusion and they kind of heal and grow and mature themselves. Look at life a little differently than they used to. And they move forward in life. And they could be defensive of doing that. So they keep repeating a pattern. Might get in different job, friendships, and relationships to try to make it look like they've changed, they've healed, they've grown, they've matured. But if they didn't change, and if they're being still living more from their mind than their heart, they've just learned how to better hide that they're shadowy in some way. you know? And the same things will happen if they keep trying to get in relationships with people who are more mature, more stable, more balanced, more authentic, more loving. Eventually, those people probably feel really overwhelmed in a relationship with these people. And loving people can put a lot of work and effort into a relationship to try to help people work through their confusion and their defensiveness and their whatever. And some people, after having done that enough, it's like, I'm done doing that. Now I've learned that I can know all sorts of people, be loving and encouraging and supportive of them. If I see that you have some of these ways about you, no longer in denial of the truth. I accept the truth. Is that too bad because I think you're cute or whatever? Yeah. But I'm not going to take action towards that. And it might be really hard in the Ten of Wands. I'm going to keep walking my talk and my truth. And unless those people kind of come out of their own defensiveness or their prideful nature, their self-indulgent nature, or their bossy or controlling nature, or being full of themselves nature, then you're going to keep moving on. And eventually, over time, you kind of see that, yeah, we're not on the same page. And then those people, again, could be mad because you wouldn't get in a more involved relationship with them. It's like, I've already been in a relationship with people who have those kind of traits and characteristics. And I want people who are more authentic, more tempered, more balanced, more inspired, to work together with people more inspired by truth and love than to create the illusion that it's love for whatever reason they're doing that for. And I think if some of the more worldly, shadowy people don't see the truth, don't want to see the truth, they'll just end up in relationships with people who are more on that same page as them, which is fine. They could have a relationship that's more balanced, you know. So say somebody's more immature. Well, it'd be more just and fair for them to be in a relationship with someone else who's more immature. If they're more about ego and image, it's just and fair they should be in a relationship with other people who are more caught up in ego and image. It's just that they might not like that. Because sometimes people who are kind of shadowy, whether they're bossy or controlling or deceptive and manipulative, um, they don't want to be in relationships with other people like them, you know. Shadowy people want loving people to be trapped in a relationship with them. You don't act like me and let me act like me. Oh, and I don't want to act like you. Or I'll try to act like you, but it's not true. And that would be the dream, right? The devil doesn't want other demons around licking their boots and kissing their ass. They want someone who buys into the illusion of who they are to help create this illusion that they're this more just and fair and loving person. And the illusion might not be as good as being in a relationship with someone else who's like them. And it might kind of show kind of more the truth of what really kind of drives and motivates them. Oh, I see that you're more bossy and controlling in a relationship. And that's probably why some of those other relationships didn't work out, because you're not willing to be more just and fair or treat people the way you like to be treated. And you might have someone who's more really overwhelmed, who might feel betrayed, who might have a lot of mental conflict. Well, that person will get in a relationship with them, and then if that person grows and heals and matures over time, that person could move on. But they could get in relationships with people who could be at any state of emotional well-being, and those people could just be like, yeah, I want to be in a relationship. You want to be in a relationship? Yeah. And they could get in a relationship, and it's more just for some people, they just want to be in a relationship. You know, hopefully they get along well enough. But if that's the grounding factor, I don't want to be single. So I want to just be in a relationship. Well, people can get in relationships for all sorts of reasons, right? But they also might get in relationships with people who are happy they're the way they are, because they like being in relationships with people like that. And there's always bigger fish in the sea who are it's kind of like there's the prey and the predator. And what some of these people don't know, because that they might get themselves in a relationship that seems to have all these things in the world that they thought were so important, but someone else just created an illusion about who they were. And then they could feel like they were manipulated and betrayed. But because those things of the world are so important to them, and the ego and the image of it, they'll maybe stay in it, and they'll have to defend an illusion. And the other people aren't creating an illusion. They're in truthful and authentic and loving relationships and friendships. But they might think, well, mine looks just like theirs. It's like, it is, but it's not. And so then they can be mad that the loving people in their life went and manifested their dreams, or at least happy not being in a relationship with them, whether they're in a relationship or a marriage. They're free to live their authentic life and not be around people who are being immature and deceptive or bossy or controlling. And some of the people who wanted to kind of go be players or something, male or female, because they're maybe codependent, and they also kind of view these things as status and image to be like in a relationship, they could be the ones who end up in relationships that they don't really want to be in for these reasons of why they want to be in them. And some of the other people could have lots of options and look very attractive and stable and abundant, and they have could have lots of options that people could view them as someone very stable and abundant, and they kind of didn't get themselves in a fake relationship for whatever reason. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.